Have you ever heard the term being light on the bike? Maybe you've heard someone talk about a pro racer making riding look effortless because they're so light on the bike. What does that even mean? Well, I'd say the opposite of what it means is being heavy on the bike. And this is when you're just sitting in the same spot or standing in the same spot and reacting to what the bike does, or you're getting bounced around and jerked around on the bike, and the suspension is kind of pogo sticking you around, and it makes it very exhausting. And this is most noticeable when you're riding bumpy terrain. Woo! You really start to get bucked around, and the suspension compresses and rebounds a lot. Whereas being light on the bike, it requires you to stand up, and you're letting the bike do all the work underneath you, where like my head, you can see, is straight, where I'm letting the bike basically rock back and forth underneath me, side to side, and I'm absorbing all of that with my arms and my legs and my feet. I'm allowing them to hinge with my hips to absorb all of what the bike is doing, bouncing around, while I'm keeping my head, my shoulders, my upper body still. And when you're doing it right, when you're in the right position, you can relax your arms and your hands and let the rest of your body, your core and your legs and your feet, do most of the work. This is going to allow you to ride longer, ride faster, because your arms aren't going to pump up from trying to push and pull on the handlebars. And you can ride a dirt bike with super soft suspension, one that feels like a pogo stick, when you change from riding heavy on the bike to riding light on the bike, because when you're absorbing a lot of the bumps and whoops or whatever it is on the trail, when you're absorbing that with your legs, you're essentially adding suspension to your bike when you're absorbing that with your legs. And this is why when you put your toes on the pegs, you can use your heels, you can hinge on your ankle to help absorb. There's an extra 2-3 inches of suspension there. And when you shift your hips and just letting the bike rock back and forth underneath you, you're adding suspension, making up for the lack of suspension on like a trail bike, allowing you to ride faster without getting bucked off the bike. And another reason why this can be super helpful is because it can make your suspension more versatile. Even if you're riding an enduro bike, you can potentially have a softer setting, because when you're adding suspension by being light on the bike, you can ride more aggressively on that faster or rougher, more whooped out terrain, because you're not getting bucked off as much. And then when you go to a slower terrain, or it's just less bumpy, where you don't need as stiff a suspension, then that softer setting will allow you to be more comfortable because it's still plush. This is one of the ways that I've learned how to ride slower, worse suspended trail bikes on single track trails here in the woods, and still be able to keep up with friends on 300 2-strokes or 450 4-strokes. That doesn't mean I'm a pro rider, but I can still ride aggressively and I can ride longer because I'm letting the bike do more of the work rather than my arms and hands trying to death grip and manhandle the bike. And if you're a trail rider that doesn't like to crash, you should check out this video here on 5 common mistakes that trail riders make that cause them to crash hard. Check that out and let me know what you think. I'm Kelly Fagan from MX Hideout. Ride safe, have fun.